if California decides to legalize marijuana, there's nothing in the Constitution that stands in its way.
Sure. The state of California absolutely categorically can decide to not criminally prosecute people for the possession of marijuana. That does not legalize it. As the California Supreme Court said, you cannot legalize it. No state can legalize it. All the state can choose to do is not prosecuted under state law. That the federal government can and still possesses the authority to prosecute anybody in the state of California for any amount of marijuana in his or her possession, and it is only a policy decision that was expressed by the Attorney General based upon resources. He explicitly said they are not going to expend federal resources to prosecute those people who are lawfully under state law in possession of medical marijuana.
Marijuana is a mind-altering addictive drug. Marijuana robs you of memory, motivation, and concentration. Short-term effects of marijuana use include memory loss, distorted perception, trouble with thinking, problem-solving, and anxiety.
In 1990, there were 20,834 arrests for marijuana possession, simple marijuana possession. In 2008, there were 61,388. It's a 127% increase. Now, in the area of possession of all of the, in arrest for possession of all other drugs combined, during that time period, there was a 29% decrease. So the higher level drugs, such as methamphetamines and cocaine and heroin and those drugs, we've actually apparently have de-emphasized that in favor of marijuana arrests.
But we know that, in fact, there's over 1 million people in California who've used marijuana, and there's only a few thousand who've signed up or registered for it.
The question about whether California can, in fact, tax something that might be illegal under federal law, I would point out that we are currently collecting sales taxes from all the medical cannabis clubs. It's to the tune of tens of millions of dollars at the moment, and my home city of Oakland just enacted by an 80% vote a tax on cannabis businesses. So taxes can be collected and are being collected already on something that's not legal.
The first is that if this state of California were to in fact make this marijuana no longer illegal for adults, that is not at all the same thing as condoning it. We don't condone the smoking of cigarettes or the using of alcohol, etc. So to put that label on it, I think, is inappropriate. Number two, as I have an understanding that today, as we speak here in Sacramento, that there are thousands of people in prisons in the state of California today for doing nothing but smoking marijuana. Is that the tougher we get with regard to marijuana prosecution, literally, from my experience as a judge, and I have seen this in Orange County forever, the softer we get with the prosecution of everything else. Marijuana will never put this violence that we heard earlier out of business. All of these statistics that you heard earlier about the violence and the killings of both the police officers and everyone else is occurring under today's system of marijuana prohibition, etc. The only way you put these Mexican cartels out of business and these other violent creatures out of business is to undercut the price, to make it no longer illegal so that you don't have that enormous profit motive to get these people involved with that violence, etc. Because today our marijuana laws are putting our children in harm's way. We are continuing with this failed program for all of its defects, so-called, because we want to reduce the exposure of a lifestyle of marijuana usage and marijuana selling to our children, and it's doing the opposite. Today, it is easier for our young people to get marijuana than it is alcohol. And if you don't want to listen to me, ask any teenagers you can find. They will tell you that. Let's turn it around. Let's regulate it. Let's control it, because this prohibition is not working. I believe it fervently. I am so concerned about our children. I'm so concerned about these illegal marijuana out there with all of its ramifications. I want to reduce those harms by passing your legislation, and I commend you again for these hearings.